Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to Locked In Christian with me, Frenchy Riff. Guys, super excited this episode. We're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is music, worship rap, all of the above. And more importantly, we're going to cover why worship music has changed over the years. There's been this giant evolution. If you've noticed, a lot of people complain when they go to church, they feel like it's a concert essentially. And we're going to talk about that. And I have a musical guest joining us for the conversation as well. So that's super exciting. But I do want to share just a couple of quick news before we get going about one, edifymusic.com, where you can find some Christian music to transition when you're trying to get away from all that secular mainstream music. Edifymusic.com, great place to start. Two, the album Matadi that I've been working on for 2 years that God has allowed me to bring out somehow. So a lot of stories about how I grew up in the small town of Matadi before transitioning to the States. And so that's coming out. That's June. Are we in June? We are June 27th. So that's, I think, 2 weeks from now. So super excited. Put a lot of work in for that. And I hope you guys, check it out or tell me there's no skips. I don't know. I don't know what that means. All right. Without any further ado, I do have somebody. It's the do rag.
Riff?
Yeah, so I got on the line today is someone that I met through my brother who lives in Atlanta, where it's hot and popping all the time. Super videographer, now music artist as well. Probably one of the, I would say, pioneer music artists as he's venturing into a mixture, of working with AI and creating really solid music.
Right.
It's really interesting stuff. So we're gonna talk about all that. So it's really it makes sense that we're discussing this evolution of worship music and where that is seems to be going. And we're going to be talking to someone that's experimenting with new style of music, a new genre, essentially. So, without any further ado, Moose, welcome to Locked In Christian, my brethren, and
Thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate you holding down with the durag. By the way, that was straight up my look for probably the longest, longer than
Mhm.
when something like starts to like phase, but like you still hold on. Like I was me. But
Yeah.
then I realized durags are actually back in style also.
It's because I'm
So
making them fashionable again.
hey man, listen, you might be leading the trend on that, but I keep seeing them, man. They're back in style. You know what? You know what's actually funny? My wife, my wife.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I caught her wearing a head wrap. I was like, babe, head wrap,
Mhm. Mhm.
you did a head wrap.
Did you
Uh,
just get your hair braided too?
yeah, I was like,
Don't let them see it. Don't
I
let
was
them
like,
see
head wrap. I was like, if you only knew.
it.
I was like, if you only knew where these head wraps game come from. But Moose, welcome to Locked In Christian, man. Just giving a quick intro. Earlier, all the guests on Locked In Christians are super aware that there is a trivia involved when you're a guest on Locked In Christians. So as we go through our conversation, we're gonna have a little bit of a trivia going. The average score, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty low. Okay, it's about 55 to 60 right now. It's
Okay.
going up. It's trending up right now.
I got a
But I do.
question. Are these questions like religious related or
They're gonna be we're gonna give you the entry level. I mean, if you these are very easy. So there's levels to them. I built a quiz myself. So I put some levels in there. So we're not gonna be on the
okay?
theological side. We're gonna be on more just biblical, just real simple stuff. Like
I just
I
want
think you're gonna ace it, to be honest. But yeah, so we're gonna tackle that. So just there's no surprise the quiz will be popping up here and there. But more importantly, we're going to be looking at something that I think that's super interesting, and I think you're going to have a pretty good.
Okay.
Um,
Let me just preface this by saying I am not religious, mainly spiritual, but I'm also a history buff. So, the Bible's dealing with a lot of historical things that I like. So hopefully I'll do well. Hopefully I can get a high score, be on the top of the leaderboards.
I think you're going to do just fine. But you grew up in the church, right? So anyway,
Yeah.
let's do just a little bit of background about you. Just a quick Chat GPT summary of Moose up to right now. Just give a little bit of background, let the people know
Okay.
what's going on.
Well, my name is Moose, short for Mustafa. I'm originally from Virginia, but I was raised predominantly in
The
Atlanta, Georgia.
VA.
Go Atlanta.
Let's go.
So I have a company, Think Mia Graphics. I started it in my grandma's den back in Virginia in 2019. With only 50 or 60 bucks in my pocket to pay for my first design software. And this was right after I got let go from a box factory job where it was just like pick up boxes and you just stack literally all day. It was monotonous. And I was in the den, I was like in my grandma's den thinking, I don't want to do another 9 to 5 anymore, brother. This is for the birds. You know what I'm saying? This is for the birds. So I was thinking, like, what do I do well? Like, what can I monetize well? And then I remembered back in high school that I used to take a lot of design courses, even made some fake report cards, but don't tell my teachers that.
Wait, hold on. Did you say you made some fake report cards?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Sure.
this was back when you had to bring your report card home and
Get a
show
sign.
to
Yeah.
your parents. Kids these days would never understand that because their parents could just click on it. But I remember one time I signed my mom's signature on a report card and honestly turned it in and everything. But for some strange reason, it was still in my backpack. Okay, the teacher saw it still in my backpack. So like weeks later, my mom's checking my backpack for maybe the spirit was leading her. I don't know, but she just checked my backpack. She pulls it out. She's like, I don't remember this.
So hold on, give me a second. Can you hear me on this microphone really well?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, is it clear? All right, cool. This is a new mic, by the way. I'm trying to get like you, famo.
Hey, man, you're doing well.
Anyways, well, yeah. So we had to take the report cards to get them signed. Now, my handwriting is atrocious, so my signature, like matching with my parents, was just not working. I used to get in trouble. So where the school system messed up was they gave me a Word class. So that was like my first introduction into design, like Microsoft Word. And so I literally created using Microsoft Word almost a copy for copy report card, and helped out a lot of my friends. So I got them out of a lot of trouble. And
Wow.
my parents didn't find out about it till like years later, like till I was like an adult. And then it's like I told them just like randomly one day, it's like, yeah, I used to forge report cards. He's like, you did what? He's like, we never knew. Like, what? And so I used to give myself like a bunch of good grades. But moving forward, so I always had like a knack for design and creating things. So I was like, can I monetize this? So after light Google search, I realized that they got design studios, graphic design studios. And so these are professionals that create designs for a living. And, well, if they could do it, why can't I? And so I started thinking of graphics in that den, haven't looked back. And so far, I've helped out lawyers, medical professionals, film, directors, currently on this current project, animation. Like, we're going all the way forward.
Wow.
Going all the way forward.
Yeah.
And so what I think what sets me apart though than other design agencies, because I take my job extremely seriously and pay attention to detail. And I feel like there's a harmony when it comes to a design. Just like, now here's a segue, a harmony that comes with music. And I love music, and I've been, as you said, using AI, a mixture of my vocals, of me writing my own songs, to craft some bangers, some things hopefully that people like, that that'll be on somebody's Spotify playlist, because they're definitely on mine, some of mine, and just to create like a new genre because it's happening. And what I mean by harmony really is you can literally go to Suno AI and press a button and have it generate some random song based off of some general prompt, right?
Right.
If you ever listen to those types of songs, they're never that good. Like they sound good, but they're never really that good. I feel like music is harmony within the soul of the individual to listeners. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like there needs to be some type of human element, some type of truth, and usually like the attention to detail is also there too, like when to add an ad lib or when to add a certain type of musical instrument or this and that or whatever. And so, yeah, so that was my segue. That was just a little bit about myself.
Oh, tell us about how you grew up in the church a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So, funny story. I think I told you this before. Uh, so I'm African. I'm half African. So my dad's from West Africa, Liberia, and his mom before him, her name's Musu. His name. Sorry, grandma. Her name is Musu. And the only reason why I'm a Christian and my dad's a Christian is because when my grandma was younger in the village, she was raised by Christian missionaries. If those
Wow.
Christian missionaries weren't there, I would be Muslim, most likely. And you'd be talking to a whole different stuff, a whole different movement.
Hmm.
With that being said, so when my dad came over here later on as like a teenager, grew up, had a family, had me, and also had my sister. We did grow up predominantly in the church. We used to go maybe like every other Sunday out of the month, a couple of Sundays. When I used to visit my other grandma on my mom's side in Virginia, she used to take us pretty frequently to church. But the thing is, the reason why I'm more spiritual now than religious is because I don't know what it is about church, but when I get in there, I just feel so tired. Something about it's just not resonating with me. And plus, like the questions that I had, because I've always been inquisitive, like nobody
Hmm.
really could answer it. So I kind of had to like take what resonated with the church and what I liked, take those good parts out, and create like my own thing, my own idea, if that makes sense.
Mm.
If that's clear. So yeah, that's basically basically about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I'm telling you, the Christian journey is one of many roads, if
Mhm.
for lack of a better word. But I know from personal just relationships with friends that started out in the faith, and of course, as you grow a little older, you do become just naturally more inquisitive. I mean, if you've never questioned anything that you read in the Bible, then you're not really human, right? It's a natural instinct for us to do that. So, but
Mhm.
like where we at locked in Christians, we're not, what I mean, we're not blocked off to everyone. We speak to everyone, and I think ultimately that journey, God calls. I believe God calls people to the word. So, that's where we're at. But appreciate you sharing that, and super excited to have this conversation with you. But before I do that, I always like to start off with just a little bit of news of what's going on around the world.
Mhm.
Specifically right now, right as we're speaking of biblical things, that biblical area in the world,
Hellfire.
uh, that biblical area in the world called Israel is going through some things right now. Presently, a lot of people are probably just going to see it in the news in the morning, but it does. Twitter gets this news. So we want to be, respectful to that. Make sure we're in prayer for all those who are impacted in that moment. I can't imagine. I think about this all the time because we're like in the States, and these kind of things are almost, I don't know, they'll never happen for the most part, right? Where you're just like sitting at home, all of a sudden a bomb is like dropping,
Mhm.
what I mean? Like three buildings down,
That's
like whoa, that.
I would say that is one of the benefits of being an American because you see all this crazy stuff on Twitter or on the news about bombings, planes crashing, or tsunamis, like, and it just doesn't happen over here, or at least we're just shielded from that. We kind of feel like that is like a Twilight Zone a little bit,
Mhm.
like the
For
probability.
For real. It's like, I mean, imagine living just in the Middle East in general. You know what I mean? Like at any point,
Mhm,
at any point,
mhm.
dinner can be interrupted by by a missile. That's
So,
a different type
mhm,
of dessert. But anyway, so I wanted to make sure, that if anyone's watching this live, and we are aware of those things. But in other news, there is a big there's a big Christian artist
mhm.
that this happened last week. Actually, I don't know if you ever heard of the band Newsboys, but the lead singer recently had some controversial news come out about him. He dropped out of the band because of these things. Has allegations of s harassment, that thing, and
A
some.
bad word you can't say out loud.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
some LGBT, like, right, yeah, for Christian artists is actually quite surprising, like drug abuse, all this stuff, like all these things are coming out. People are
mhm.
are obviously, bringing some things against him. So he decided to take, but he confessed and he put it all out. I've never actually seen that before. Someone actually
Like fully
fully confess
thing.
like their things publicly is actually quite
What was
impressive.
he? Was it well received or
It's honestly, it's been decently received. A lot of people are like, just like me, they're like, wow, I never seen somebody fully confess like
Mhm,
their sin publicly, because you don't technically have to. You
mhm.
confess your sin to the Lord and or to your brothers in the faith. So you don't
I got my
naturally,
therapist.
yeah, yeah, you don't naturally do it to the world like that, which is wild.
Mhm,
But that was the big breaking news like last week, and I think we kind of covered this. I was on a podcast with the guys over at 520 Collective, and we kind of talked about that. And I thought that was interesting because these fall from grace, like for especially for musician or celebrities, the fall from grace happens almost every time, right? The quicker you climb up, it's almost like the quicker you fall back down.
It's
And you would think like Christian artists or the Christian industry is immune to this, but it's not. It's all the same in
everybody,
a way.
is affected by that. I won't even say the quicker you rise, the quicker you fall. It's the quicker you forget your roots,
Mm,
core, the quicker you fall. Because if think about it, like for instance, Jamie Foxx, right? Great musician. I think he even has a couple of gospel songs, so I think I'm on par with the channel. Uh, what he, in one of the interviews that he had, he was asked like why, like how you stay so humble, like you're such a nice guy, like when you meet fans you're not stuck up like a lot of different artists, actors, actresses, so on and so forth. And he said, well, he still has in the front of his door, he still has his welcome mat from when he did not have money. I think it may have been like from his mom house or one
mm,
of his older cribs. And it's like that keeps me humble because as soon as I see that mat, it makes me remember like where I
mhm,
started from. I didn't have the big mansion and everything. And I
mhm,
think he also expressed having like some type of anchor. And I agree. We should all have some type of anchor, especially if you know that like your YouTube channel, you start blowing up, right? Which I see it in your future. You know what I'm saying? I think you can blow up, definitely. And so it's just like, what in your life? This is a question to you. What in your life would you keep or have around or have on you in your wallet or physical or whatever the case may be, would you keep to kind of keep you grounded? Like, what would that be?
I actually been doing stuff like that with myself all the time, and I don't like I always, I mean, I know I've seen him, the interview with Jamie Foxx. I also saw his
Mhm.
stand up, which kind of felt like it was a kind of awkward stand up. But he did mention his faith a lot, and how his sister stayed in prayer throughout the whole time he was in that coma. And so that was a big part, I think, of his foundation, his grounding. And so for me, I personally, I mean, I still have clothes from like high school and college, and my wife still was like, bro, get rid of this stuff. I'm like, nah,
Uh, that's a
this is
great.
a reminder.
Yeah, that's an anchor.
I was at zero when I used to wear this shirt, and
Yeah.
so I think naturally, I
Mhm.
you just do things to keep yourself, focused. But these days, I just gotta keep the Bible on me. But it's funny you mentioned Jamie Foxx, because I'm pretty sure at some point he was doing worship music at the church too, which is something that I found just through my research of watching a lot of interviews with singers like Beyonce, all these guys, most of them started out singing in the church. So which brings us to our topic of today, because we're going to talk about what happened to worship music. Because you talked about a little bit how you go into the church and you felt immediately bored. I have a friend that's been, you know, they grew up in the faith as well, and he completely dislikes worship music. Right? He's like, this is the reason I don't go to church. He's like, I do not like the rock concert feel that, you know, this worship kind of new age worship worship music brings. So this is kind of the thing I wanted to talk about. I'm like, whoa, like what's going on with worship music? Like, where is this transition coming from? So we're gonna get to that in a second, but before, we're gonna get you going with this trivia, baby. Don't. So we're just gonna do a couple of questions just to get you, just to get you going. But as you guys know, when you get trivia, some music going, because we ain't doing no trivia with no music. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Let's see, where my trivia at? All right. I tried to size this to where it was showing up well. I hope you can see that.
I can a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll read it.
Actually, I just
how about now? How about now?
Yeah. I mean, I resized my screen so now I can see it. But yeah, you can put us back on there. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll get us back on it. We'll do this one. We'll do it this way. All right, so we'll go basic question. We'll go easy. All right, because I think medium might be cooking a little bit. All right, here we go. You ready? Look, the first two are going to be super easy. See, look at that. You're going to walk through this one. What was the name? What was the name?
Like world history, then yeah. But
no,
yeah.
some of these are historical. What was the name of John the Baptist's mother?
There's always going to be either Rachel or Sarah. I actually knew I knew a Sarah. She was a good friend of mine, so I'm just going to flip the coin, Sarah. Elizabeth. Wow, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, hey, those are, listen, biblical names. You can just throw them out there. All right, who led the Israelites out of Egypt? Look at that. Look at you.
Actually, funny enough, this me being a history buff, I actually have some counter evidence to that. Actually, to that story.
Right. Here we go. Next question, and then we'll go into our topic. What was the name of the garden where Adam and Eve lived?
Babylon. I'm just messing with Eden.
All right, here we go. See, look at you. You're already up too. All right. So I told you could do it, man. You're actually crushing it. So you're on your way. I think you're on your way to 90. I can smell a 90. We're gonna raise that average. We're gonna raise that average. All right. All right. So one thing about the worship music is because personally, I was in a lot of worship bands. Okay, I was in there's a church that just started like picking up like crazy when I was in Greensboro in school, and my uncle is also a pastor, and I was in the band for that church as well. But for African churches versus American churches, I'll just say,
I'm talking about African, like African, or talking about African American.
Oh, it's African.
Oh, I never been to an African.
Yeah, like there's a French translator. So my uncle prefers to preach in English, but he can preach in French too. So when he does the English, someone's like translating in French, and the church is like filled with a lot. It's really mixed, even like from African standards. You have a lot of people from Togo, Cameroon, Congo, obviously, and just a couple other more places. So it's very mixed in that way. But as far as music goes, it feels like we are kind of more hymn based. There's a lot of repetition. I think it's very similar to like black churches, where black church, like the ones I used to go to in like Charlotte, I mean, the songs take forever. It'd be like 7 to 10 minutes because the lead singer, right? You've been at church where the lead singer is like, you're like, cut the music real quick. I just want all the voices. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That part takes like 4 minutes.
The one thing I did like about church growing up is white churches. You get in and out 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour. Black churches, you be there. You could be there 2-3 hours
Hey, listen,
for
that,
singing and all.
but that's what it is. I think the most part of that is the music. The music guy does not want to get off stage in most African churches and black
Everybody
churches.
thinks it's American
So
Idol. They're gonna be
I,
there.
so I have a little bit of research that I pulled up.
I'm gonna disable my camera real quick, but I can still hear you.
Yeah, no problem. I had a little research I pulled up because I was thinking about how did we get to the point where it kind of sounds like a rock concert a little bit. And so just some artists that kind of help with this transition. You might know someone like Kirk Franklin or Fred Hammond or Tasha Cobbs, who's a powerful voice, by the way. Or you probably heard of Chris Tomlin, Casting Crowns, Matt Redman. On the rock metal side, you Third Day. That was a big one for me when I was in high school and I was at a Baptist church in North Carolina. Third Day, Casting Crowns were, songs people just had on repeat. I don't know if you ever heard the song Praise You in the Storm by Casting Crowns.
I might have.
But
You gotta play
but
more.
eventually every Christian I know just started disliking that song because it sounded like rock songs anyway. But then you got like pop. I mean, look at the genre diversification from worship music, where so you had pop like Amy Grant, Stephen Curtis, Jeremy Camp. I don't know how he's in pop, but I feel like he's more in that other area. But then you have hip hop as well, DC Talk, Toby Mac, and Lecrae. But this shift looks like it started around the 1960s. So let me see. Let me find where I. Okay, so it sounded around the 1960s where the music kind of transitioned from just hymnal, right? Just a bunch of hymns going on versus like this concert like feel. And it's called the Jesus movement, which sparked this radical change in Christian music, which started blending kind of sounds of Christian themes with rock sounds to reach the new generation. And I wanted to ask you, because this seems like the type of thing that is done in order to reach the current type of generation, right? There's no reason for Christian worship music to go from hymns, for example, right? Worship music to go from hymns to like rock sounding music, unless you're trying to reach people that are currently listening to rock music, right? The new generation will be listening to rock music. There's absolutely no reason for that. There's no reason for us to listen to Lecrae, right? Unless the current right generation is listening to a lot of hip hop and R&B. Now also insert Lecrae. Now we are all plugged in
Can
to
can I think I've heard Lecrae maybe a couple of times, but I probably need a refresher. What when he does his music,
that.
how is it conveyed to you, to your ears? Is it like, is he like all out like love Jesus, or is it more like a subtle,
Mm.
thing, like subtle symbology and things of that nature? Like
Well, that's interesting. Hey, man, I'm supposed to be asking all the questions. No,
I
but no,
think you
but
got it.
Lecrae at the beginning of his career, because I think he was in college when he dropped his first song. I think it was Church Clothes was a mixtape he dropped, and it was more filled with theology
Mhm.
and kind of like when you're fresh on the scene of being a Christian, becoming a Christian, and just kind of that zeal that hits you, and every your the gospel is like intertwined with every word you're spitting in your rap. So it's really like it would catch you if you are a new Christian, right? If you're a new young Christian and you're hearing like gospel from a rap song, you're like, no way, right? I'm listening to that. I could say it was the same for someone in the 1960s and 70s, where you're like, man, I like rock music, but I've just converted. I've just gave my life to Christ. I'm Christian now, and I probably shouldn't listen to Kiss anymore. But then all of a sudden you hear you hear somebody coming on and it sounds like rock, but the lyrics are gospel. You know what I mean? They're preaching. It's just like, whoa, I've just discovered something I like. So I wanted to ask you, I'm like, okay, what do you think, or why do you think that there's always an appeal to the new generation when it comes to music, for example?
Like, are you asking me in terms of just Christian music, like this new age Christian music? Or are you talking about, or are you
Yeah,
referring?
like for worship music or new age. Really, it could kind of fall for music in general as well. There's always an appeal for the current generation.
So, in my experience, because I can only speak from my experience, me personally, I do not like gospel music that is overly preachy. Uh,
Which one specific, like a Kirk Franklin
Kirk
or
Franklin's okay because he put some
yeah,
soul into it. You know,
right.
like uh I actually don't have anything on mine like that I can think about. I just give you the feeling of some of the songs that I've heard. You pretty sure everybody's heard the same gospel songs, and you could just hear, God this, Jesus that, and raise up, open your heart, things like similar symbolic, but it's just so aggressive.
Mm,
It's so aggressive, and so I think there's two different types of, or maybe a few different types of people, but off the top of my head, here's are the type of people that may like extreme like gospel music, like they're preaching to you in your face. I'm
yeah.
talking about this is the only music that your grandma plays every single day. It doesn't matter if it's Sunday and sings along. It's people who are 100% devout or believe that they're devout in their Christian faith, whatever the denomination is, because there's so many.
Hmm.
And it's the idea, it's like an old school framework or idea. I feel like those types of people will really gravitate towards overly preachy gospels. And those are the type of people to also in church to shabba and to do all that stuff. Now, for the younger generation, the gospel music that probably would resonate with them, because I actually have a couple of gospel songs I believe are gospel on my Spotify playlist. I did not know. It's the subtle gospel stuff. It's like adding, like I was saying, adding the symbology, adding, you know, all the Christian stuff without actually putting it in your face. Because listening to music is an experience, right? And so there is mainly about the experience than the words that they're saying or stating are kind of flowing through you effortlessly, and it's kind of changing how you view things, view the world, view life, like subtly. It's like that subtle, you know, I don't want to say manipulation, but it's kind of like on the par of manipulation. So that's what I believe. So like, it just depends on the type of gospel song. If you like an old, like a overly preachy gospel song, like praise Jesus, God, da, 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 and it's like hype, you probably have an old soul or have a way of thinking that's made probably old school.
Mm,
Um, on the other hand, the gospel music that I would feel like a lot of our younger generation listens to is not as in your face, and it's subtle and it's a nice vibe. You could play it almost anywhere, and no, unless you're
mm,
really paying attention, nobody's really
mhm,
gonna know.
mhm,
So, and I think that just boils down to the younger generation doesn't want to be talked at. I think
mm.
that's what it is, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
So, I mean, you can follow this pattern even from like the 1960s, for example, when rock music was inserted in, Christian music. It's that theme of whenever there's a new genre, there's a new style of music, there's gonna be the old generation and gonna be like, what is this trash?
Mhm.
Y'all shouldn't be listening to this. This ain't rap, this ain't country, this ain't that. And we have that as well in the Christian faith, because a lot of people you can find, I mean, 1 out of 5 Christians would probably say, "Yeah, I don't know how I feel about, sounding like a rock concert." I remember I went to, Elevation Church. My friend in, Charlotte, he goes to Elevation Church, pretty big church. If you look it up, they are one of those mega style churches, and I'm telling you right now, Moose, there was about 20 people on the stage. Okay, let me I wish I could find a picture of this. There's 20 people on the stage, right? There's like 15 with microphones. There's a lot going on. And then you got your drummers and stuff, and there's like 50 speakers. Okay, there's speakers everywhere in the rows. I mean, it's so loud. I couldn't even have my son in there. I had to take my son out because we even had the headphones for
give me a brief pause. This I can hear some fam in the background. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Go ahead. But what else? So what I was saying, this story is I was at Elevation, and the music was so loud. Okay, first of all, the number of people on stage was wild. That's a lot going on, but the music was so loud. I had to take my son out of the church. I was like, we put headphones
What
on
did I
him.
miss? Catch me up
Yeah,
to speed.
we put headphones on my son because we had these little headphones for kids. First of all, he hates those, and then it was still making him crack. It was shaking the whole place. And to be fair, I can see how that gets you into this like worship state, right? I understand that because even in mainstream secular music, the louder the music is, the more entrenched it gets into your system. I see a lot of these Rolling Loud type of Lollapalooza, all these type of whatever they call them, concerts that are outdoor. The music's so loud. You see videos of people just like swaying, hands up, right? Lord knows what they're worshiping, but you got your hands up, doing all type of stuff because the music is just going right into your soul. And this is how it felt at Elevation. But for me, as someone that produces music, that's around music all the time, like I was like, this is too loud, right? And I felt like an old man saying that because I'm telling my friend at the church, I was like, bro, that was so loud. Like I was struggling.
Can you still hear? Do you need to
It was like banging my ears, and I could not take it. So have you been to a church situation like that where it kind of felt like a concert?
Yes. So one of my favorite churches, actually, even though I'm not religious, was, I forgot the name of it, but it was a pretty big church and it was predominantly white. But it was a mixed crowd, but it was you would probably classify it as like a white church. And guess who actually attended that same church as me, which actually made it really, really cool.
Who?
Montel Williams. Not Montel Williams. The dude
Montel Jordan?
Not Montel. The singer.
Montel Jordan.
Yeah, he's like they got the keys.
This is how we do
it.
Yeah, that's Montel Jordan.
Tall as hell. But yeah, so every single service it would be like a concert, and everything was set up just like how you have your setup all crisp and clear and nice backgrounds, nice backdrop. So it was very entertaining, and so I've been to a church like that.
It's a different feeling, right? It's like you get in there, you're like, whoa, like the music grabs you, especially if like the singer has a really powerful voice, like a Tasha Cobbs, like you hear it, it's like, whoa, that's a power, like moments like that can kind of take you away. But the complaints I see, especially from Baptist church, like growing up in a Baptist church in Charlotte, they were not about that. Okay, they were very, very strict on the music. I mean, it was super bland. It never got too concerty, even though the worship pastor was always trying to push it a little bit here and there, but it never got to that point where it was like concert. Now it's a concert, but again, it's probably but again, it's probably to attract, because think about who it's attracting versus who it's pushing away. It's pushing away this older generation and attracting this new generation, which I can imagine just looking at this little research here. In the 60s and 70s, if you were an older generation and you're used to hymns at the church, now all of a sudden it sounds like a rock concert, you're probably out. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and find me.
I gotta be a
I'm gonna find me a new church. And a lot of people get hurt about things like that. But so anywho, so you got some, I mean, they're calling them pioneers, but these people introduced, like a Amy Grant, they introduced this conversion of hymns into like pop music, for example. And I think that's always, I think that was super interesting of taking worship music and kind of converting it. And I don't personally, I don't know if
Mhm.
that's biblically something that we should do, because when it gets to this part
Mhm.
of the gospel, this part of the Bible, it's fuzzy. Everyone defines it a little bit differently. But I'm curious, Moose, from your perspective, someone that is I mean, by the way, yeah, I'm not religious either. I'm all about the relationship with Jesus Christ. But from your perspective of someone that is not plugged into a church and is not hearing a concert every weekend,
Mhm.
what do you think you lean more towards when it comes to worship music, if you were in that, you know, situation where you'd appreciate it? Like, where do you think you would lean more? You'd be like, I kind of appreciate, you know, a little new school, old school, him, no him.
Actually, if I may, can we rephrase the question? Just reel it back, maybe a couple sentences ago about, you know, blackness in the church and music, and
Mm-hmm.
why are we so loud, and why is music such a big part of our worship? I feel like we could start there, and then we can slowly transition into the question you just asked. And
Perfect.
so, as a history buff, you know, and I do deep dives all the time. Like, I go, my ADHD, once I get hooked onto something, I'm learning everything about it. And so, from my research, so when we came over here and, you know, slave ships and brought to the Americas, and actually, fun fact, majority of us actually went to South America. Only a small sliver of us went to the Caribbeans and to North America, which is, that was crazy when I learned that. Anyways, it's like music at that time was a way for us to stay sane, and also a way for us to communicate various things that we couldn't say out loud, you know? So music is literally ingrained in our souls. Like, it's
Mm,
really part of our spirit.
mm,
And so once, you know, you add religion to it, and, you know, you've been working, let's just say we're back then, you know, 1700s, you've been working in the field all week, you know, you're just tired, and then you get one day of reprieve, just to relax and chill. If you can imagine the relief in church, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what we're singing, we're all together, we're happy, nobody's, for the first time, nobody's bothering us all week, we get to have this. And I feel like that has transitioned from just hymns to jazz to uh, blues to rock, and which led to rock and roll, and so on and so forth. And it just started from that, basically from hymns. You
mm.
know what I'm saying? Uh, as we progress, I would say you are right that, you know, in terms of biblically speaking, what one should do or shouldn't do, because I believe in the Bible it says churches within yourself, or it doesn't have to be something extravagant or something like that, something to that effect. If I'm wrong, if you know what I'm talking about, please help me.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of verses. I mean, Jesus does say, where there's two or more having a conversation, I am in their midst. So,
So, but it
so
doesn't say it
technically,
has to be in a big building with a big stage.
well, I think that pertains to a community, because when Paul and all the disciples were establishing a church, it was a way for them to meet and to actually just have conversation. Hey, what's going on over there? Hey, who needs prayer or who needs this? So that's really what the church is made for. Now, these days, the church has kind of branched out to do a lot more than initially for what the disciples were doing, because again, they had to do church in secret, they had to do church in hiding most of the time, and Paul wrote most of his letters where he was in prison. So these are things that the church was really like a community. You meet, you kind of debrief, and you know, everyone kind of shared, and it wasn't just like one person standing up and preaching. Everyone was sharing. It's like, hey, you know, I thought
Yeah.
this, the Lord showed me this, blah blah blah. So that's kind of what the church was like in those early times.
So you could see the differences between back then, because, you know, once I think it was Nero with the lions, throwing the Christians to the lions, and, you know, doing the whole persecution thing. And it wasn't
Are you referring to Daniel? King Nebuchadnezzar that threw in three guys. Well, he threw in Daniel in the lion's den, and then he threw three guys into a fire.
So those are the biblical stories. I'm actually talking about
Oh, you're talking about
the historical
the
context, like
Roman Nero. Yeah,
Roman
I'm
emperor.
sure he's done some things too. I mean, they were in charge at during Jesus' time, so
the history it's convoluted, brother. But it is. But there is. See, the thing is, so in school they'll teach you that Christianity was eyeball out because they only worship one God. You know what I'm saying? And everybody else was polytheistic. They worship many, many, many gods. And so that was the reason that led to the persecution of them later on in the Roman Empire. And also to, even back in old school Jerusalem, actually, no, I think those were Jews. Jesus wasn't around that time with throwing Daniel into the lion's den.
Yeah,
right?
that was before Jesus.
That was before. So, so I guess that doesn't apply. But anyways, so there's always been like this huge period in history where either Judaism or Christianity is extremely persecuted. Now, not many people know this, but Christianity is just an offset of Judaism. Believe me or not, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, so back then it was like maybe like it was more so of like a secretive meeting, like you think of like Illuminati, you meet in a cave or you meet at night. Like you wouldn't necessarily say that you're a Christian or you're Jewish, depending on the time, climate, and culture and what's going on. Now, if we fast forward to the Americas, to slavery, to the slave trade, now it's kind of like the same context, literally, like almost like because we're also getting persecuted. We have to communicate in secretive ways and meet under full moon and so on and so forth. And it just and with that being said, it takes a life of its own because the people involved are more endeared to what's happening because the stakes are extremely high. And when the stakes are extremely high, the passion is extremely high as well. And so if I may transfer this back into music, like from the hymns to the music today and gospel music, if you notice, like the best songs have some type of like a passion to it. You know what I'm saying? Like unmistakable. You could feel the energy and you can feel the love coming from there. It's like unmistakable. But did I answer your original question?
Yeah, I think somewhere in there but what I'm really trying to get at is that when the early church, you mentioned, just a little historically, when the early church were meeting, I mean, they probably shared some hymns, right? Because they did have access to the Psalms. So they probably shared some hymns, but it wasn't anything like to the level of what we have today. And I just imagine if the church was meant for us to just, get together, share the word, and see what's going on, where the help is needed. Like, where did the stage, the guitar, these like amazing singers, like where did that come from? That to me is super interesting because it was never a thing, but in it became this normality. Like, you can't really have a church now. You almost expect to have somebody on stage singing and some kind of guitar playing in the back. I've yet to see, it's set up any other way, maybe just some keys or something. But where did that come from? I mean, from your perspective, what do you think happened to where it's completely normal now?
So I would say it's just natural progression of things. When you're put into a space where either you're bored, nothing to do, or there's something like an idea that you see in your head that just can't get out, it's just a natural. You just gather materials and trial and error, and then you kind of build it from there. I'm not like a music historian per se, but I would say it's more of a like the banjo. You know what I'm saying? It was tweaked, and that kind of led. If I believe, y'all can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. That kind of led to the formulation of like one of the first guitars. You know what I'm saying? And the banjo is used in jazz, bluegrass, and not jazz, blues. My bad. bluegrass, and so on and so forth. And so I think it's just a natural progression of how we want to express ourselves in the church.
Now,
you know,
I want to. So the next question I want to ask is gonna be around the influence of essentially is the side effect to this kind of new worship culture we have. But before we do that, let's get back in this trivia. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
let me get my nicotine.
Let's get back in this trivia while we're here we go. All right, let's see. Next question for the Moose Man. What is the first book of the Bible?
It's obviously Exodus. No, it's Genesis.
Man, here we go. Hey, listen, you're killing it right now. Let's keep going. What city was Jesus born in? Nazareth, Jerusalem, Galilee, Bethlehem.
A lot of people would say Jerusalem, but it was actually Bethlehem.
Oh, he's cooking. He's cooking. All right, let's see. Let's see one more. Here we go. All right, who was the mother of Jesus?
It was definitely Sarah. It had to be. No, just Mary. Don't come from.
Didn't I tell you was gonna kill this? Didn't I tell you was gonna kill
Trigger
this?
happy. He's about to click.
I was about to click it just to. Hey, listen. Whatever you say, I'm gonna do. All right. Let's do one more, and then we'll close out with the last three. How many days and nights did Jesus fast in the wilderness?
30.
Ooh,
I was gonna choose 42.
so close. So close.
I was off by 10.
40 is a big. It's a big number in the Bible. So
Was that the same story with the burning bush too?
Yeah, Moses is up there for 40 days too.
Oh.
Well, look at you. See, look at you, man. You're plugged in. All right. So next question. So as we're back in, we're talking about music. Now, I want to talk about the side effect of this, okay? Because once we transition to different genres and this diversification of genres, something happened. Obviously, there's a side effect to just about everything we do in this world as human, but something happened to the people that were singing the songs. And this is where you're finding your current, right, pop artists, your R&B artists, your hip hop artists, well, maybe not hip hop, but all your singers, okay, your Neos, your Beyoncés, Tyrese, all these guys that have made it in the music business. Usher, big one. But the side effect of putting somebody on stage and creating this concert-like atmosphere around them, and them singing the gospel music has actually thrusted them into mainstream music. Now, first of all, do you feel like that's an accurate side effect of what we're experiencing?
Well, everybody has to start somewhere, and a lot of African Americans. Actually, no. Let me take that back. A lot of Americans grow up predominantly Christian. And so if your parents are Christian, they take you to church and you have this self-expression, this creativity inside of you, of course, you're going to, just like with the creation of the guitar, you can use what you have at your disposal. You're going to give it your all and you're going to create something and hopefully grow from that. Like Beyonce, Usher started in the church, right? Too. You said that, right? Beyonce and Usher, that's what they had at their disposal. I wouldn't necessarily say it, but I could be wrong. They were necessarily like looking for the church to start their music careers. Kind of like, I'm here. They're offering me this opportunity. I'm going to take this opportunity and see where it goes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's more like a discovery of talent. I mean, you don't know you can sing in front of people, and then they thrust you up on that stage, and your voice is just carrying and holding. It's like, whoa, who's this talented young man? And really, what happened is the parents actually would thrust them into, the mainstream world. But initially, they started out singing for the Lord. So my thoughts are, if we never put that stage together, right? Do singers even
Maybe.
do they leave the church? Because obviously these, most of these celebrities and stars are not back in the church. And some of them have gone back, but most of them, for every talented singer I've seen at a church, no matter what church, even my uncle's church, we some really talented singers, eventually they end up releasing some type of project, right? Eventually they end up doing an album, they're doing a single. But for someone like a singer at my uncle's church, they're still doing gospel, but it's only for a matter of time before, there's a little bit of frustration and you're like, oh, let me go try out some mainstream music. But I mean, do you think this is an appropriate kind of summary of why we're getting, why this transition from hymns and, just kind of singing these slow, very worship centered music and putting it on stage and changing it, to meet this new generation? Do you think this impact has kind of been a little bit detrimental? Like it kind of backfired a little bit on the church?
Well, to be honest,
It didn't backfire for Usher and Beyonce, but it's a good, right. It's
the
like,
church in and of itself, there's many scandals, many things of that nature. So they basically that they did that to themselves. But the natural progression from like hymns to rock concerts or gospel music today in these concert like experiences, I would say it's not detrimental. I don't say it's detrimental because a lot of people do get found in the church and they go out to have careers. But are they, if they go into mainstream music, are they considered secular? Are they considered like lost in the faith or away from the flock? Like black sheep, or is it just they don't have to per se continue to do like write gospel music or do gospel music or gospel adjacent, because like their faith is their faith and however they feel, that's how they feel. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't really have a solid answer. I can just speculate.
right. That's fair. No, that's fair.
Like, what do you think? Let me reverse it back to you.
I feel like it backfired a little bit because the side effect wasn't easy to see initially, because you're just putting someone that's talented and someone that can sing, someone that can hold a note for a long time. I know personally, even at our church, I know some women that joined the church and they're like, oh, I'd like to go join the band, and then they'll go and the worship pastor would be like, all right, here's the mic, sing for us. And then they sing and it's like, it's all right, and he'll be like, yeah, we'll let you know. You know what I mean? It's literally like an audition almost. They're like, yeah, we'll let you, thank you though, but we'll let you know. And and I thought about that before, like when my wife was telling me about those kind of situations, I thought about it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like a tryout, essentially, right? It's like rejecting someone for wanting to sing and share their voice for the Lord. Kind of feels it feels wrong. It
I think
feels
it's
wrong.
just right place, right time. Honestly,
Yeah.
because there's auto tune.
Well, yeah. The church has not got into the tune yet. Maybe for like an album, but not live. I mean, they have a lot of effects in there, but they haven't done the tune yet, and I'm waiting for it. When I hear it, I'm gonna let you know. Maybe I'm just not in the church. Maybe some church in Atlanta is already ahead of their time, but we'll see. But I'm saying that it's interesting when you get to a point where if somebody's showing up at the church and they want to use their voice and sing for the Lord, and somebody can just tell them, yeah, maybe not, your voice is okay. You know what I mean? There was a time where no one would get cut. Okay, there was a time where everyone's desperate, like you.
So let me ask you this question. So are you saying that the singers on the stage within churches are picked because of their marketability?
Absolutely. I think they're picked because of their talent. Like, I mean, when I hear my wife sing at church, I'm like, well, like she's got some pipes.
Okay.
She can sing.
I was thinking like singing, like singers starting off in the church and possibly getting discovered around church events or people at church, and then going off to having these illustrious careers, but not everybody gets that shot, you know. But if we're just talking about just singers on the stage and being picked and chosen because of their amazing voice,
Mm,
you know, that's a different story. Because it's all about marketability, you know. In
true.
my opinion, church has lost its core idea a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? I just
Hey, but that's exactly what the research was showing to me. Right? It's like the 1960s when they first inserted
Mhm,
mainstream music and just swapped out
mhm,
the lyrics for Christian themes to reach the generation. I think that has trickled all the way down. And matter of fact, that was my next question to you is let's look from 2025 and forward. What do you see is the next transition period, because you've been kind of experimenting with AI music and writing music and prompting and all this stuff. AI can create it a lot faster than we can technically, but you've been experimenting with that. I mean, and those AI things make gospel music. I've actually done it live here. We shared one live like a couple of lives ago, maybe 2-3 weeks, but AI is making it can make those gospel music. So where do you see this transition, the next phase
mhm.
of gospel music or worship music? Where do you see it going in regards to all the new technologies, specifically to the ones you've been trying?
All right, I can't really speak to gospel music because again, I'm mainly spiritual and I don't keep up with a lot of gospel songs. So, but one thing I do know is patterns. And I could speak about music in general and how across many different subgenres and main genres, how AI music creation is going to change the game. And this is what I see happening. AI music is not going away. If anything, what's going to happen is it's it's going to make it's so easy for people to get on board to create these songs. And not everybody has talent, by the way. So it's going to get oversaturated. It's starting to get saturated now,
Mm,
but it's going to get to the point of being so overly saturated that a few things most likely will happen. One is going to be a new status quo, will either be a new app or a new regulated system. Uh, that separates people who are just playing with AI music generation and actual serious artists. You know what I'm saying? Because you can definitely tell the difference. And there's going to be people who are going, because you won't be able to tell anymore after a certain time, like which one's AI and which one's not. Even if it's Usher, like Usher could sample his voice and now he can come up with 100 different songs. And so you would never like it's gonna be really, really hard to tell. With that being said, the quality of the song is definitely going to be paramount, and the impact of the song is going to be paramount. Wordplay, um, rhyme scheme, so on and so forth is going to definitely be paramount to kind of stand out. And also, too, I see record labels creating AI, you
mhm.
know, musicians, and there's a little bit happening right now. Timberland just signed an AI artist. I sent you, yeah, I
Oh
sent,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I was about to mention that. This is
yeah.
for people that don't know who Timberland is, like my wife, for example. Timberland is responsible for a lot of the early 2000 music that we've heard from Missy Elliott,
Mhm,
Justin Timberlake. I mean, if you know any of those albums like "Another One I Take It," that's
mhm,
Timberland production. I mean, he Aaliyah,
mhm,
man, really, really,
mhm,
he's responsible for a lot of the early sounds that we've heard, and he's just created not just an AI artist, but he's signing AI artists, but he created a whole AI label, I believe. He's
mhm,
gone the whole route. So that's super interesting to me because
mhm.
what's the stopping someone like Usher from lending out his voice essentially and creating a gospel song? Is a gospel song or a worship song created by AI still a worship song?
Yeah, because it's not about the song; it's about how you
Hmm.
interpret it and how it makes you feel.
Wow,
Like music. Yeah.
that's an interesting take. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Why
So,
think it's
mhm.
still a worship song?
It's still a worship song
Okay.
if you're in the mindset for worshiping. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
If you feel like whatever it's being said, regardless of how it's made, that it resonates with you and
Mm-hmm.
it makes you, more religious or gets you in the mood to go to church, whatever the case may be,
Mm.
yeah, and it's still a worship song
Mm.
because it's the idea. Worship is the idea. It's not really the action, really, when you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Because, like you said, two people can have a church or one person can have a church. So it's the idea, the mindset, that you're in, and that really makes a difference as opposed to the labeling. Like, if I'm in this space, it's a church. If I'm not in this space, then it's not a church. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Hopefully, that's clear. Was that
Well,
elaborative
that
enough?
was clear. I think that's a hot take for sure, because
Mhm.
a lot of Christians will probably disagree, because when you're writing a worship song,
Mhm.
there is a influence of the gospel, or sometimes there's
Mhm.
an influence of literally, like, you're reading the word and the
Mhm.
song kind of is just kind of coming out. The Holy Spirit's talking. A lot of Christian writers have mentioned this in the past, like your Chris Tomlin, your Hillsong. These are some of very popular
Mhm.
writers in they make a lot of songs that we sing at the church, and it doesn't come without any scrutiny. A lot of them are very, they're scrutinized, like a Hill song, and they write their songs. Sometimes their songs are a little bit
Mhm.
suspect, but most of their songs are sang at the church. But when you're writing a song,
Mhm.
it's usually, it's from a
Mhm.
situation that's personal to you in your life,
Mhm.
and overcoming that and attaching it to words in the gospel. So if AI writes it, where's AI deriving
Mhm.
the inspiration from? It's really, whatever I type. I could tell
Actually,
AI to take, Psalms
that's it.
121 and, create me a
But
song that's
who had
emotional.
but who had to type the prompt though? You had to type the prompt. You had to give it
Ah,
the information to pull from. So
that's that's
technically,
that
you're
that's
needed. You still needed
true.
in the song creation process. So therefore, it has some type of human influence. It's the only time that you could say that AI music is not really creative or not really good, or whatever word you want to use, is when AI can autonomously, without anybody prompting it, just start creating stuff. Once it gets to that point, then you can say, is this really a song? You know what I'm saying? Because what makes a song, what makes great songs is us.
Right.
It's passion. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with that part, but the danger is, what happens if somebody that's not in the faith, that's just typing it up just to type it? You know what I mean? It's like you're not truly in the faith. You're just typing a prompt. It's not really the
So
same
how do
as,
you?
you're not really worshiping. You're just trying to make a song to make a buck. Like, if I wanted just to make money off of
Mhm.
making worship songs, right? I prompt up a bunch of them. Say I'm not Christian, I just prompt a bunch of songs, and then churches are like buying them like crazy, right? I'm just making money from making songs using AI. It's not worship songs. It's not worship music, because I'm not worshiping. I'm not in a worship mood. I'm just typing a prompt. That's really the danger of allowing AI to penetrate the church.
May
But
I, may I push back on that a little bit?
no, go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
I'm up for it.
so my interpretation of that is, even if you were a slimy artist and you were just typing like gospel music is really on the rise and you wanted to get in and cash in, right?
Mhm.
Even if you did not put that much thought or effort into it, and let's just say you're really good at marketing and it does blow up, does it really matter if it wasn't a worship song to you, or does it really matter how it's received by the listener? Because we make music for the listener to enjoy, to hear parts of us, our history, our experiences, in a fun, unique, and clever way. So as
Mm.
long as the people on the receiving end believe it's a worship song and that you put all your whole time, effort, and creativity into, does it really matter? Now, there's a such thing as karma. I mean, if you continue to, just BS, 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 I mean, it's sooner or later the truth will come to light, and then
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I think it's dangerous, because you're going to get to that line. Someone's going to question it, regardless. It might slide for first two tracks, but someone eventually is going to go, "Who's writing these songs, and what are they all about?" Because a lot of the even my church here in Gardens, they scrutinize every song, right? Every song that the worship director chooses has gone through, scrutiny. They don't just play any song. They're like, hey, or sometimes they'll take a song. They're like, oh, we're not doing the bridge. We're not doing this part because these words here don't match with our foundational beliefs or anything like that. So they're very picky with the type of music that are being sung out on the stage. So when you're having AI draft this music,
Mhm.
really don't know, right? There is no heart behind it. It's just kind of like, I'm just typing it up. So that's really where the danger lies in allowing AI to create worship music. But because of history always repeats itself, Moose,
Mhm.
we know that this will
Mhm.
eventually become the new thing. Just like
It will come.
these guys in the 60s and the 70s, when they woke up and they went to church on that Sunday, or Saturday, whichever day, they wake up, they went to church. Next thing you know, they're singing an electric guitar and someone's still singing like hymnal over it. They're like, no way this is happening right now. This is gonna be a fad. It's gonna go away. Next thing you know, like what, 20, 40 years later, we're still doing it even more aggressive, right? We've stepped it up. We've actually added genres, right? We've actually added more genres. We're doing rock, we're doing pop, we're doing gospel, we're doing worship. And then now we're going to have AI. I mean, it's inevitable. It's coming.
It's
It's gonna be a genre, and it's gonna be
it's gonna be a subgenre. Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be discussed at the
And,
church. Some churches are gonna be like, "Nah,
and,
we don't want that stuff." Some churches are
and
gonna be like, "Yeah, we're fine."
mark my words. This is one the things the trend like patterns that I saw coming. I think the best songs that are going to come out will be an infusion of a real person's vocals and
Mm,
AI to enhance.
right.
So it's not like you said, it's not going anywhere. It will become its own subgenre. Now it's
Mm,
really up. It's going to force us as listeners to really do a thorough search on who made the song, how the song was made, and to see if we feel comfortable with listening to it. Because there will be a group of people that will refuse to listen to AI music, even if it's just a little bit.
right.
And and then that's going to create a uh, it's going to create an opportunity for real artists to potentially make a comeback and probably take the throne away from AI potentially if done right. But we still have to go through this transition period, so we're not there yet at the peak level where it's a problem or issue right now, because we still got a lot of artists that go to the studio,
Mm,
that lay their own vocals or produce their own music, right? That are
right.
they're still in the market. AI music compared to that, I haven't checked the numbers, but for me, I believe that I think real human creation is still dominating.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree
but
with that. The
yeah,
the
go ahead.
reason why I think AI music will eventually take over even within the churches is because of customization. And like just right here on this slide, as you guys can see, is the big four mega church influence. Like any church you walk into, any
Mhm.
very modern church that's not like Baptist, like strongly Baptist, like old school Baptist where they're still doing hymns. Yeah, you're listening to one of these songs, right? It's either written from Hillsong, Bethel, Elevation, or Passion out of Atlanta, Georgia. Remember I mentioned Elevation out of Charlotte,
Mhm.
but they are they write most of the songs, and this is the songs that go out to all the churches, right? You wake up on a Sunday, you're definitely going to be hearing a song from written by Elevation. Now, and the process to get these songs approved takes a while, as I was mentioned earlier. Even my church, like they scrutinize everything. So instead of going through that scrutiny process, right? If I have this AI that's tailored, that's customized on just the Bible, right? It just references biblical things and then puts songs together. Then I can just customize a song really quickly, right? Then I can avoid the big four mega influence, because these guys they come with their own controversy as well, right? A lot of Pastor Carl Lentz was
Mhm.
fired for moral failures, and that was in 2020. In 2022, yeah, Brian Houston steps away from legal charges, I believe. And then
Serious
yeah,
charges.
and then you had and then you had Houston, this guy in Houston resigned as a senior pastor for investigation found for inappropriate behavior with two women. Like, you still have, like,
That wasn't
as long as you have human in the process, you're going to have these moments where they fall from that grace. So in order to avoid this, I can just see the church in the future is going to go, yeah, we're not going to take a risk by having guys write these songs that will
marketing team
eventually,
can't
yeah,
handle
that eventually,
it.
they'll
The legal
eventually
team
run
can't
into,
handle it no more.
yeah, they're gonna run into some moral failure. Let's just be honest, right? Human, you're gonna run into some moral failure. So if I'm if I'm a new church coming out, let's just say 2030, new church coming out, like, we don't want to take that risk. Let's just have AI write the songs based on our church's
And so
core beliefs.
I would say that would probably be a good meet in the middle, as long as they're not trying to. I would say not trying to put it on Spotify, or no, not they could put it on
They
Spotify,
probably
but they
will,
have
yeah.
to, but they actually have to say this was AI generated. And if
Mm,
they have a platform, if there was a platform or like Wikipedia page or their own website explaining how they generate music, who generates the music, given that context, then I'll say it will be effective. But if they're just generating music just to generate music and putting something out there just to put it out there with no context, sooner or later, the churchgoers or somebody online is going to rat them out, and then
yeah.
that's going to really impact their marketing and how retention rate of churches.
I think that's the first step, actually, what you're mentioning. I think that's going to happen first before we even get to the point where everyone settles and just kind of accepts that AI music is part of our normal lives. Just like, dude,
It's
just
not
think about it.
exactly.
In the 1960s and 70s, like, you did not see an electric guitar in the church anywhere until then, right? Until now, it's part of the church service. It's like, yeah, there's somebody playing electric guitar in the background, because it was never there before
But
that. So
the
now,
adoption is different. This is two different things, man.
no,
When
well,
because
the,
that's the instrument. It's a new sound instrument, right? That may add like maybe like a small
it's a
curve,
tool. It's a tool. It's a
but
tool you're
but
using to help maximize
no,
worship.
you're right. You're right. It is a
So
tool.
AI is going to be a tool you use to
It is
help
a tool.
maximize worship. So I'm saying, but if we're thinking about it right now, there's going to be a lot of pushback. Somebody's going to sneak it in and going to get caught, obviously. But in 2030 or 2035, it might be very normal by then, right? It's going to go through
So
all that phase. And when it's normal, I think churches are going to easily adapt it, because if I can customize it, I don't even have to risk dealing with a human, a fallible person that wrote this song. I don't have to risk, whatever they did on the weekend, whatever they mess up. I don't have to worry about that stuff. I know these songs are going to be legit, and they're never going to have to be, like,
we
they're
get
never
the
going to, yeah,
freedom
they're
and
never going to get canceled.
yeah.
They're like cancel proof music, essentially.
Okay, I mean, I could see that happening. So essentially, what you're saying is, for gospel music or for music used in churches, is going to get to a point of malacy where nobody's really going to care, and the church is not, and the church is going to be happy because now they don't have to rely on a singer who's fallible that would mess up their marketing or have the
These
legal team
guys.
call, make settlements with everybody.
These guys.
I can see that reality happen.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, because no one was able to predict, seeing the electric guitar in there until it happened, and then it just became normal. So I think eventually, I mean, just from this conversation, I think it's going to be normal. I think it's AI music will be normal because of that moment. But we know that the Bible tells us in Psalms, just in closing before we wrap up with your trivia, is worship as a response to God. We talked a little bit about earlier about what worship is really about anyway. So it says there, Psalm 100, make a joyful noise to the Lord. I mean, this is a very popular verse. All to the earth, serve the Lord with gladness, come into his presence with singing. So we know there is singing in heaven according to the
What
Bible.
type of singing though?
And then
Is there
yeah,
salt behind
better,
that?
better make sure your voice is good though.
See, there's salt behind that. Salt.
And then you have music as a spiritual teaching. This is in Colossians. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. So it mentioned psalms, it mentioned hymns, and it mentioned spiritual songs. So, there's three things there. And a lot of people have taken that to whatever you want. And then one more in James. Its expression in times of joy and sorrow is anyone among you suffering? Let him pray. Is anyone cheerful? Let him sing praise. So singing is a big part of the church, and worship is a big part of the church. But I'm not sure if it meant to turn into a concert-like feel, because even in my church specifically, it gets really dark. You know what I mean? And the stage got the light, got the lead, got the spotlight on the lead singer. You got I'm like, whoa, this is a concert. But still, the Bible backs up worship, and that's really, and that's really a good spot. And I think it's interesting that we can add AI to this to change the game. But
can I say this though? Regardless of how AI is used in song making moving forward, it doesn't matter whichever genre, as long as the intended song, however it's created, is effective to the listener, that conveys whatever information that the songwriter wanted to convey. If that's effective, then it's a song. And however you interpret it, it's just how you interpret it. So truth is your truth. So if you believe if you listen to a song as a worship song, and you believe it's a worship song, it's a worship song. As long as that end product is effective, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure how we feel about that Frenchy riff.
I mean, we like to state that the Bible is what the truth we rely on personally. So whenever you start relying on your own truth, everyone's gonna have 50 different type of truth. I mean, we still have that now.
How many denominations of Christian? Oh,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's not tonight's topic, but we'll save that for next time. But anyway, so let's get back here. You got 3 more questions, and I think you're doing good right now. So which apostle denied Jesus 3 times? This guy's pretty famous.
Peter? No, he's either Peter. Peter, let's go, Peter.
Yeah, you know your stuff. You know your stuff, man. Don't question yourself. You know your stuff. All right, here we go. This one's a hard one. Who built the ark according to the Bible?
Abraham Lincoln. No.
Yeah, it's not even an option, but I was gonna look for it. All right, here we go. Last one, baby. How many disciples? Oh, this was hard. How many disciples did Jesus have?
12.
1,200. Let's go. Oh, at some point it was 11 though.
Yeah, one fell off. Judas.
Guy got replaced though.
Oh no. Jesus fell off. Oh dang.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, hold on. All right, let's see the results. Here we go.
80%. That's not bad.
Hey, listen, that's way above the average. I'm gonna tell you right now. That's way above. Good job, Booze. I'm gonna send you your quiz results, and I would send it to your church, but I don't think you're attending.
Yeah. Not great.
Nah, that's just the joke we like to end with. But honestly, I thought it was a phenomenal discussion, and I think it's important, just covering music in general, and then specifically to the church as well, just kind of that evolution of worship music. I thought that was super interesting in a lot of ways. But if you're just joining us now, I'm seeing the numbers change all over the place, but if you're just joining us now, you can always rewind and start to stream back over, because we covered some pretty interesting facts. So we went back to the 1960s. I mean, Moose went back to Nero. Okay, I'm gonna let you Moose went back to Nero. Anyway, just in closing, Moose, any final thoughts, any plug any projects you got working on you want to share with the people? This is a good time for it.
So I am working on a current project, a music project. I don't have a release date, but hopefully to release it in the next month. Actually, Griff, you actually heard one of the songs, so you know,
What's your artist name so we can put it
Son of Kings
Son of Kings.
with two eyes. So Kings has two eyes in it.
Son Kings.
Are you gonna display the Spotify channel? Because that has my updated artwork on there.
Oh no, I'm just putting off for people to
Oh, I appreciate you. Look at you.
to look out. Yeah, so Moose got some projects coming up. Go on.
Yeah. Also, too, I just want to say I really don't have too much to add. I mean, the only other plug is, my graphic design company. So we help small to medium-sized businesses. It's called Think Media Graphics, and Think has two eyes in it. I love two eyes because we see the world with them.
Right.
You can learn some designs or check out my portfolio. That'd be really, really,
Think Media Graphics, right?
really, really THIIA.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so y'all make sure y'all hit him up. I've personally used Moose's talent, so I can speak to that specifically, and we appreciate Moose hopping on and just kind of and chiming in our conversation about this music, worship music, and growing up in the church and all that good stuff. And guys, how'd y'all feel? Where's everybody in the chat, man? Why nobody check in on the chat? Y'all wildin'. Where is the chat? But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that talk, because I think it's important. I think worship music is crucial, as you saw in some of the verses that I shared there, that we sing to praise, or singing in heaven. Angels rejoice every time there's a new believer, every time there's a baptism, and they're singing and they're shouting in praise. So I'm just not sure, what kind of specific singing we're supposed to be doing for worship, but we do shout for joy. We do have hymns, we do have the Psalms, all that good stuff. And if you do make music as well, you have that. And speaking of music, guys, make sure you check out the album Matadi coming in June 27th. The album's filled with the word, hopefully is filled with the spirit as well, because I mean, a lot of those songs, it's me kind of connecting what happened to me in Congo and kind of the transition and moving to America. It's something that's quite shocking for someone at a very young age, but you can just see the God's hand in that transition, and just God's grace and kind of plucking me out of, and my brothers plucking me out of that country and dropping me off here to eventually be here in this video, essentially. But I hope you guys check out the album, and let me know if there are some skips on there. I don't know, is that a thing for albums, when there's like, is there any skips? I don't know when that became a thing, but I never used to skip albums out of respect for whoever I'm listening to. I don't skip songs. Okay, I don't care how awful the song is. I just listen through it. Okay, I want to see what the artist was going through. But I thought it was an interesting conversation, and no dig at the elevation worship, by the way. I just thought it was very loud in there. So if you've ever been to Elevation in Charlotte, the big campus, it's loud. Turn it down a little bit. It's got a lot of speakers, amen. So guys, make sure you check out edifymusic.com, where you can find most of our music and a lot of Christian artists that are new to the game. And if you have anything to chime in, if you want to be a guest, we have our first female guest, guys, and we're in the process of scheduling it right now. I'm super excited because she's an amazing human being, and she's doing a lot. So we have that coming up maybe next week or the week before that. We'll the week after that, but we'll see what the schedule said. But it's gonna be big time. It's gonna be big time. I've seen her growth throughout our church, and just graduating, all that stuff is really cool. And so I'm hoping that when she joins us, you guys pull up heavy, and we'll have a amazing discussion. We'll talk about a lot of things. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, our new time is 8:30. We're starting off a little bit early now, so you guys can have dinner with your family and everything, or skip dinner. I don't know what you guys do these days, but 8:30 is now the time for our lives. So every Friday, 8:30, Locked In Christians. Open your Bible and read it. It's good for you. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Just relying on my strength, I was like Samson. You gon' whisper in your soul, you gotta listen. It's some spirits in this room, I feel the tension. Armor of the Lord, 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 no suspension. I was walking blindfolded through the valley, feeling empty like my faith was in the alley. But the shepherd never sleeps, he rallied angels. Prayers hit the throne, throne, I'm out of danger. Just relying on my strength, I was like Samson. You gon' whisper in your soul, you gotta listen. It's some spirits in this room, I feel the tension. Armor of the Lord, 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 no suspension. I was walking blindfolded through the valley, feeling empty like my faith was in the alley. But the shepherd never sleeps, he rallied angels. Prayers hit the throne, throne, I'm out of danger. Just relying on my strength, I was like Samson. You gon' whisper in your soul, you gotta listen. It's some spirits in this room, I feel the tension. Armor of the Lord, 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 no suspension. I was walking blindfolded through the valley, feeling empty like my faith was in the alley. But the shepherd never sleeps, he rallied angels. Prayers hit the throne, throne, I'm out of danger. Just relying on my strength, I was like Samson. You gon' whisper in your soul, you gotta listen. It's some spirits in this room, I feel the tension. Armor of the Lord, 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 no suspension. I was walking blindfolded through the valley, feeling empty like my faith was in the alley. But the shepherd never sleeps, he rallied angels.